this jerky at the start of coronavirus. Actually made it at home, so it's not the best way of doing it. Obviously, you just do it in an oven, and we'll make a video on that. But it's lasted nearly 7 months now. It's a nice bit of protein and fat to take with you. It's light. You can mix it with for stews and things. You put it in water if you don't want to chew it. I like jerky. PTSD. I've got two friends who are older than me, again, veterans, who I'm happy to admit that they suffer from it. They've been very helpful and supportive. We all agree, as veterans and veteran sufferers of PTSD, we don't talk about it enough and we don't do enough to help other people. Because you can always do more. One of my friends does a lot of mans the phones and things in the evenings, in night time. He takes calls from people who need someone to talk to or a chat. And painful for him and me, because he, like he said, he doesn't know if they're going to make it through the night. A lot of the time I'm not bothered in the evening as such, bedtime. I find it difficult to sleep a lot of the time just because I'm anxious, I guess. But I seem to suffer more during the daytime. PTSD can take many forms and it can give you many issues, all of which can be different from the next person. But there are a lot of similarities, a lot of traits that are the same, you know. The waves of anger and sadness and utter confusion and just not knowing what to do. And if your mind's going a million miles an hour, it's difficult to stop the thoughts. I think a lot of people assume vets with PTSD are volatile or dangerous and rude, and I don't understand, you know, we can be like that. Normally when we're presented with bullshit, certainly with the type of PTSD that I have, very good at calling bullshit. I don't suffer fools lightly. I'll put myself in positions where I'm a victim of fools, or who I consider to be fools. It's probably a bit impolite, but it's just the way I see it. Because they don't understand, you know. Like the recent job I had, I'm a qualified mechanic. Took myself to college after I left the army. It wasn't what I did in the army, I was an infantry. Got myself into the rescue team. Like my CV, I didn't put any of the stuff I had done before the army. You know, I've got over a decade of experience being a manager in a restaurant and a hotel. I know company rules and legislations and things. I choose not to lead people because I prefer to follow. Doesn't mean I'm not capable of leading, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to stand by and let you take me for a fool because on paper I've made myself appear stupid or less qualified. But that's the thing, they don't know anything about me. They don't know who I am, what I've been through, what I've done, and what I deal with on a daily basis. And similarly myself with them. You know, everyone has to look after ourselves, and unfortunately money changes people. I'm not gonna lie, that's hot as fuck. Some of the daily challenges I face. First thing in the morning, first thing that happens to me is I'm bombarded with all the jobs I have to do. I don't mean just like the washing up or put a wash load on or things like that, it's everything. I have OCD as well, I suffer with it. Not to the point some people do, but still, you know, everything I do I want to be perfect, and if it's not perfect I beat myself up about it. If I don't need telling off by people because I tell myself off enough, trust me. Yeah. You're not alone out there, that's what I'm trying to say, I guess. Again, I've no format for these videos, it was just going to be me talking, it was just supposed to be to help me initially. But I know I'm not alone. It means you're not either. Again, aluminium cools down quickly, doesn't weigh very much. Yeah, I struggle with eating. So struggle to wash myself sometimes. Obviously when you're like that as well, it makes you feel bad because you can't even do the simplest of things like staying alive. If you're not hungry, it's difficult to put food in your body. Generally I'm not hungry in the morning because I'm extremely anxious, full of adrenaline. When I wake up, if I set an alarm, I'll generally get up, straight away, get ready, get washed, get ready, eat, have a cup of tea, have a cigarette, and then on my way. I'm in and out of the house in sort of half an hour. I could do it a lot quicker if I needed to, obviously, but I don't like being left with free time on my hands. I think I'm starting to learn that that's because it gives me lots of time to think. And when you've got lots of time to think, you don't know what to do with yourself, and you never learn how to relax. What do you do? And my therapist asked what I do to relax. I just laughed. Nothing. I don't know how to fucking relax. I don't know how to relax. So some coping mechanisms, you need to ground yourself and be more in the moment. This is why I come out. And rather than think about all the things I have to do, or what I'm doing tomorrow or next week, or all the bad things that have happened to me and what people have done, look at what's around you. What can you smell? What can you see? What can you hear? Just try and be still. I guess it's a form of meditation. I'm not the kind of guy yet to be able to just sit down and meditate freely, but actually it's probably one of the healthiest things you can do. Just have some you time and just slow, you know. I have friends that their PTSD is from actions they've taken in a theatre of war, and they're not, you know, in hindsight, they don't like the way that things went down, but at the time it was the best thing that you could do. And you're haunted by these choices and actions the rest of your life. Like I say, your biggest adversary on this world is yourself. You know everything about you. You know your deepest, darkest secrets, your fears, your likes, dislikes. Your brain secretly knows more about you than you actually realise. And if you're fighting yourself, it's almost like a battle you can't win. It makes you stronger in a sense because you don't care about certain things other people will get nervous around or whatever. Like confrontations, for example. I'm not a tough guy. Can be, but don't like to be. Some people just don't know how to control themselves. And if you're put in a position where someone is not going to de-escalate themselves and just keep escalating to you, you know, for example, if you're in a pub and everyone's had a few beers and someone gets leery or whatever, the only way that's getting de-escalated is if you get separated by security or if you have a fight. It's difficult to walk away. You know, I'm not going to turn my back on someone that's being aggressive to me because I don't trust them not to stab me in the back or attack me from behind. I don't trust that because it's happened to me in the past countless times. The amount of times I've been involved in an altercation or a fight, walking home from school or what have you, and it's literally been just stood chatting to my mates walking down the road to go and get a bus, and a bunch of guys have just come up and punched me in the back of the head. Presumably because I was tall and big and they assumed that it would be a good challenge for them to prove themselves. But they don't know that I'm not interested in that crap. I have no reason to prove myself to anyone. You know, just want to be quiet, want to be me. But that in itself breeds the kind of behaviour that you are going to get in the altercation, because I'm not backing down either. And there comes a point where, as a soldier, you choose, you don't lose your temper, you just choose that you're going to fight now. It's an active choice, you know. That's something people don't understand about squaddies, is you're trained in what's called courageous restraint, you know, not pulling the trigger, not just going off instinct, you know. You have to, even in the heat of battle, you have to control your temper, control your emotions, because if you don't, the information that your brain's giving you is not going to be accurate. It's going to be orientated and shaped around your emotional state. And if you can't remove yourself from your emotional state, you can't take good choices. You can't make good choices in certain situations. So you hear all these stories about squaddies getting attacked in bars and things and getting killed. And I'm sure people that fight a squaddie think, yeah, beat him up, yeah, he was a soldier, he's not fucking hard. No, he's not hard, he's a survivor. But he's tough because he's, well, I say he, there's obviously female women that are soldiers and those in between. But they're not there to fight you, they're just there to have a good time. Just because someone doesn't want to fight doesn't mean they can't. Don't get me wrong, you get dickheads in every walk of life. I've met a few dickheads or squaddies in my time. I think they're dickheads, but whether or not anybody else does is up to them. yeah, it's the anger that comes over you sometimes with PTSD. It's just it's unmanageable. I found myself countless times just getting worked up, and not letting the emotion out, just swallowing it down. Because that's what I did all my life, you know. And that old saying, boys don't cry. And I was told that at a young age, and it stuck with me. If I could go back in time, I'd wait for the person that told young me that, and I'd take myself aside and say, look, boys don't like to cry, but sometimes they do, and it's good to cry. If you're sad about something, let the tears out, because if you hold on to it, it's just it'll get worse, and you'll get more upset in the future. You know, like I said to my therapist, it's a bit like this cup, and life is just adding to it. You know, you're just pouring water in there every so often. A little bit of stress, car breaks down, short of money, run out of time, you have to eat, whatever, you know. You keep adding to it. If you don't ever let any out, it's going to get full, and when it's full, it's going to spill over. You don't want a full cup. Ideally you want a cup with a few holes in it at certain points, so you can let the tears out and let the emotion out. If you hold it all inside you, it just eats you up from the inside out, and it gets to a point where, I've had it a few times. Again, I'm not afraid to say about it now, but my wife has seen me in a state where I don't want her to see me like that. I'm scared to cry in front of her. Scared to cry because I don't know what's going to come out, you know. Don't know what's caused it or why I'm like that, but I am. And it's just got so bad where I end up locking myself in a dark room. Sometimes I'll just put music on and just blare the hell out of this loud as fuck music just to try and drown out what's going on in here, you know. You can't see it, but it's there. And the amount of times I've then gotten myself into a position mentally where I've had to resist just ripping my own face off, or headbutting a wall until my brain comes out, you know. Obviously I haven't killed myself because I'm talking to you now, but you don't know how much of that you can go through before enough's enough. I'm fortunate I have family and friends and loved ones and a wife and stuff that are there to support me and love me, and I love them eternally, you know. Some people don't have that. And I think those are the people that sometimes will take their own lives, and it's a crying shame. But I guess what I'm here to say is, I'm here for you. Even if it feels like you have no one, you got me. And I'll keep fighting for you. I'll offer you a hand down if you're stuck in the mud, stuck in a trench somewhere covered in your own shit. I'll still put my hand down there and help you come out. It'll wash off. It's only crap, you know. Some people just need a hand. I got a friend who, I won't mention him because I don't know if he wants to talk. I'm trying to get an interview with him at some point. He's actually in the social care field and has had PTSD for a long time. I think he left the military 20 years ago now. And he recently sort of realised that he's just been blocking it all out, you know. He struggles at night. I talk to him on the phone every so often, rarely, but every so often. I message him sort of almost daily. But I get put in a position where I don't know what to say. But it doesn't actually matter. Sometimes I just want someone to be with, just to chat, you know. Like, I don't drink anymore. And there's nothing better than a booze-fueled evening with one of your muckers. Drink till the sun comes up, you know. Get through as many bottles of liquor as you can. Let some tears out, talk some shit, talk some stories. But that's a short-term fix to a long-term issue, you know. A deeper issue. And you can only start fixing that by taking a step and looking at yourself. If you can face looking in the mirror, that is. Again, that's the opponent, isn't it? The man in the mirror. You need to acknowledge that there's something going on that isn't quite right, and it needs addressing. And you may or may not need help to do so. And there is help out there. When I made my phone call to the CBT people, they're like, what's going on, sort of thing. I don't even remember the conversation really, but all I remember is just bawling my eyes out, trying to speak and explain. I think I was saying, like, you know, I'm going to kill myself or someone else. that's it. I'd been in an altercation with the guy who he was just getting leery for no reason, and I drove off. I was like, no, fuck it, I'm not having someone walk over me like that. So I drove back, jumped out my car, and he comes squared right up to the window and stuff, and I said to him, just basically, fuck off, I'm going to kill you. And it wasn't a threat, it was a warning, you know, because I'm in that state where I'm full of energy, full of adrenaline. It's like, just leave me alone. Leave me the fuck alone. I don't want to do this, but I will. Luckily it diffused, we both stepped back from each other. He was spouting out all sorts of stuff, I'm a trained MMA fighter, I grew up in fucking, where was it? Peckham, I grew up in Peckham. Well, good for you, mate. I don't give a fuck where you're from or what you've been or what you've done. Leave me alone. Yeah, that dissolved itself. But after that I was emotionally charged. And that's part of the PTSD aspect, is it can be a sight, something that happens to you, like an experience, something you smell, something you taste, something you hear. I'm sure there's many more I haven't just named, but that can put the sufferer straight back into the mental and emotional state that they were in when the traumatic experience or experiences first happened to them. And that's why some people get, like myself, just get immediately, you're on high alert, fight or flight. And like your responses are completely over the top for something that's insignificant. For example, if I got fluff in my tea or whatever, you know, I could lose my shit and fucking fight over there or whatever, you know. Because you're already up here with emotion, you know. If that's your limit, you're already up here, and you get a little bit more, you're already up here. Because you haven't started down at your feet, you've started somewhere you haven't finished. It's like doing a bit of woodwork. And every time you... Okay, let's try and think of something now. You got a stick, and every time you have something that's emotional or stressful, you put a little notch in the stick. And when you run out of space for notches, the stick's done. You're snapped. You know, it's over. Now, if you have a stick with a notch in it, and then you've sanded out the notch or you've repaired it because you've worked through the emotion and the feelings, then the stick's good to go for next time. But if you've already got 9 or 10 notches on that little stick, one more is enough. And that's the problem. You need to slowly chip away at it constantly, every day. Okay, so there's a tea bag in here, but don't worry, it's completely organic, this one, so I have no problem putting it here. It will biodegrade in a couple of days. My use of the fire is done for today, but it's still hot in the centre, obviously, because it's like a little oven. So I want to cool it down a bit quicker, just spread it out. That'll cool down quicker. Also, when it's cool, you can pick up some of this charcoal here. It hasn't fully burned, it's in the air, hasn't got to the wood. So it's turned to charcoal, it's still burned. You can use that for making a new fire. It's really good for igniting with a flint. It holds the heat really well. So as you can see, it's almost as if no one's been here. If you're going to come out, don't litter the place, don't leave rubbish. If you need to leave some rubbish, then come back and get it. We don't want to destroy the environment, because enough bad and crazy shit's happening in the world at the moment. You can all agree on that. We don't need to add to it. Humans seem to be forgetting that trees are the only reason we're alive. Couldn't do that without them. Yeah, I hope some of this, again, I've got to edit these videos, this is done on my phone, and then I'll try and get some sort of structure to it. I just want to get some content put up at least for you guys to have a look at. If you have any suggestions, thoughts, comments, questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comment section, I guess, without sounding too much like a YouTuber. Please like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Ultimately, if I get a whole bunch of subscribers, then I know that it's at least of information of use to some people, and then I'm achieving part of my goal. We'll try and do some more exciting things. But for today, that's me. My name is Mike Savage. Stay safe, because it's a savage world.